The espresso machine hissed behind me as I stepped out of the boardroom. Glass walls, leather chairs, 6 Germans on one side of the table, 3 Americans on the other. A $900 million logistics deal sat paused, just waiting for their compliance guy to finish combing through a data clause I'd spent 6 hours rewriting on the plane. Everyone was tense but polite. Even the intern hadn't touched his phone. I'd been running on caffeine and 2 hours of sleep. Figured I had 60 seconds to breathe, so I slipped into the side lounge and pulled out my phone to check the time. 2:04 a.m. local. That's when it rang. I didn't recognize the number, but the second I heard the voice, I knew. Malcolm Dresden, my boss. Chief Executive Officer of Pinnacle Wear Systems. Brad, we're terminating your employment, effective immediately. That was it. No warning, no explanation. His tone was flat, rehearsed. I didn't say anything. Not a word. I couldn't. I just stood there, staring at the gray carpet tiles, phone to my ear, pulse pounding. It felt like someone had punched me right in the center of my chest, but with a cold hand, no emotion. He hung up. I opened my laptop. Nothing. Locked out. Remote kill. All my credentials deactivated. I tried the admin portal. Blank. I clicked into the draft agreement I'd been editing since January. Error message. Every document, every revision, gone. My name scrubbed from the platform like I was never part of it. I looked up at my reflection in the glass. Same suit, same face, but something was different. I walked back into the boardroom, sat down like nothing happened. I nodded toward the German lead. Let's resume in 5. No one noticed anything. No one even blinked. That's when I decided. They have no idea what I've already set in motion. I got back to the hotel and dropped my badge on the desk. Didn't even take off my tie. I opened the laptop, switched networks, and logged in with my secondary credentials, the one I'd set up months ago under my Global Sandbox account. Half the interface was wiped. Threads I'd started were gone. The work stream looked like I'd never touched it. Documents were missing. Others had my fingerprints stripped. My edits, my metadata, even the timestamp chains were broken. I opened the latest version of the master agreement. New clause in section 7.4, transferred liability to secondary signatories. I hovered over the initials, BH, my initials, my damn name, sitting there like I'd signed it. Only I hadn't. I stared at it for 3 seconds. Then I grabbed the Pinnacle Wear branded coffee mug off the desk and hurled it at the wall. Shards went everywhere. Didn't care. I pulled the chair back and sat down hard. Opened the terminal and launched the vault, the one no one ever talked about. It was a hidden back door buried deep in the senior lead architecture. Only 4 of us had ever accessed it. Command line asked for the phrase. I typed it, mirror protocol _init. The vault cracked open. There it was. Full metadata logs from every revision cycle over the last 90 days. Time-stamped. IP locked. Every line backed with encryption. I pulled up the final contract file, the one they'd submitted to the German legal team this morning, clicked into the signature hash. Whoever faked my name was good, precise even. The brush pressure on the strokes was nearly identical, but they didn't know me well enough. I always looped the B in my last name, a tight full circle on the top curve. This one, straight hook, no loop, sloppy. I checked the chain of edits. The forged signature was dropped in at 2:01 a.m. Frankfurt time. I got the call at 2:04, 3 minutes. They timed it to the second. I dug deeper, into the email logs. The agreement had been sent to our German partners under Malcolm's executive alias, using an override chain that bypassed normal legal review. That access key? Only 6 people had it. One of them had used mine, cloned my signature, spoofed my token, pushed it through, and then fired me before I could log back in to see it. Clean, controlled, coordinated, but not perfect. They forgot who built the damn system. I pulled the audit log into an encrypted shell and cross-referenced the device IDs. The signature upload came from a device registered to Malcolm's executive assistant, same machine used to run onboarding packets and internal review drafts. I screen-capped everything, dragged it into a clean folder, named it Fraud Phase 1. I sat back in the chair, heart thumping, and stared at the folder like it might explode. The play wasn't just to replace me, it was to rewrite history, change the ownership, shift the blame, and load the liability onto a name they figured would be too shocked or too far away to fight it. But I wasn't far. I wasn't gone, and I sure as hell wasn't going to sit there and let them bury me in a PDF. I cracked my knuckles, opened the terminal again, and keyed in a deeper vault, the one only the legacy devs knew, pulled every log tied to signature chains, then froze the entire directory to prevent remote deletion. Let them try to cover it now. I leaned in and typed 4 words into a new note: start extraction with proof. Then I hit execute. I stared at the log still syncing to the drive and leaned back. My eyes were burning. I hadn't blinked in who knows how long. I got up, cracked the window an inch for air, and it hit me. Malcolm had played this way earlier, 3 weeks earlier to be exact. We were at an executive dinner in Chicago. One of those fancy steakhouse rooms with the glass wall of wine bottles and white tablecloths no one wanted to spill on. Malcolm stood up near the end of the night, holding his drink, that damn smirk on his face. I remember the exact words. No one could have built this like Brad. He's the brain and the backbone of the whole project. Everyone clapped. VP of product, CFO, even the lawyers gave me that fake smile like they agreed. I smiled too, took the praise, even raised my glass. For half a second, I believed it. Half a second. Later that night, I was heading out through the back corridor to grab a rideshare when I heard my name. Brad! It was Darren, my nephew. He was working the dinner as a catering assistant. I hadn't even known he was on the shift. He pulled me aside, real quiet, out of the hallway cameras. You didn't hear what Malcolm just said, did you? What do you mean? He glanced over his shoulder. After the toast, he told the CFO, we'll cut him right after the Germans sign. Already got a new guy warming up. I laughed when he said it, like really laughed. Come on, I told him. That guy? He just called me the backbone of the whole project. You must have misheard. Darren didn't argue. He just shrugged and said, figured you should know. Then he disappeared back into the kitchen. I walked out of there thinking it was nothing, just noise. But now, sitting in that Frankfurt hotel with logs of forged signatures and a live contract they stole from under me, I saw it clear. Maybe the firing was always planned, but the forgery came later, after they realized the deal needed my signature. That night wasn't a celebration. It was a send-off. That toast, a cover story. By the time he stood up with that drink, the plan was already set. The replacement lined up. The exit timed down to the minute. They had clapped while burying me alive. I walked back to the desk, opened my laptop, and clicked into a blank document. No formatting, no header, just raw space. I typed 4 words. He planned it all. Then I stared at them. My hands stopped shaking. Then I picked up my phone and messaged Trish Lang. She was still at Pinnacleware, running risk compliance out of their Dallas office. We'd known each other since our early analyst days. She once covered for me when I accidentally flagged a vendor in the wrong country during a sanctions check. She owed me. But even if she didn't, Trish liked the truth more than she liked people. I texted, "You still have access to contract logs?" She replied 5 minutes later. "Depends who's asking." Me? Then yes. What am I looking for? I sent the timestamp from the fake signature. 20 minutes passed, then the phone lit up. Incoming call, Trish Lang. I answered. "Yeah?" "You're not crazy," she said. "They used your signature 3 times in the last 30 days. Cloned? Yep. Same vector overlay, same pressure pattern, same error on the lower loop of your B. Whoever did it, cut and pasted, then resized it to match. 2 partnership contracts and 1 retroactive authority transfer." I sat down. "Authority transfer?" She kept going. "Gives Malcolm full control over international partnership rights, backdated to last month. It looks like you gave him that power, all perfectly filed." I didn't say anything, just stared out the window, jaw tight. "Oh," she added, "there's a junior legal guy tied to the uploads." "Owen Jost?" I turned back. "Naomi. Malcolm's assistant. Of course." Trish paused. "He's the same guy who asked you about signature chains, right?" "Yeah, weeks ago. Said he wanted to learn the process in case he ever needed a backup method." "I thought he was just curious." Trish snorted. "He wasn't." I didn't waste another second. I opened my encrypted vault and built a fresh secure drive. Mirror drop 1. I dragged in every piece. The 3 forged documents. Metadata logs showing the signature clone. Device IDs linking it back to Naomi's terminal. Owen's shadow tag timestamps inside the doc history. I zipped the folder, locked it down, backed it up twice. Then I wrote a new note at the top of the chain. Primary breach confirmed. Chain of custody compromised. Mal, intent traceable. There it was. Proof of the cut. Not just the moment they fired me, the blueprint of how they did it. I stared at the screen for a beat, then added one more file to the drive. It was a clip from the Chicago dinner, Malcolm's toast. I didn't even remember asking someone to record it, but there it was. I clicked export. Once the export finished, I left the hotel and took a direct flight to Zurich. Didn't tell anyone, didn't look back. I unlocked the apartment I'd been leasing under a corporate alias. A quiet place, top floor, decent view of the river. No photos on the walls, no personal clutter. Just fiber internet and cold floors. I plugged in, logged onto the secure terminal I kept offline, and opened the Apex Logic shell. 6 weeks earlier, during the early phase of negotiations, I'd floated the idea of creating a neutral intermediary, a third-party entity to house transitional tech assets between Pinnacleware and the German side. I pitched it like a firewall, a temporary bucket to make legal review easier. Everyone bought it, even legal. No one asked who owned it. Apex Logics, AG, fully incorporated in Switzerland. No parent company, no obvious ties. But the CEO on the charter was me. I'd filed the paperwork quietly, routed through a proxy firm in Lucerne. My uncle, a retired freight executive from Detroit, seeded the initial capital, 6 figures through a family holding account. No red flags, no headlines, all clean. I checked the registry, still active, still mine. I pulled up the master contract again, the one the Germans were about to sign. Section 3.1. All transitional asset control shall be routed through Apex Logics AG for the duration of Phase 1. That line was still there, untouched, still binding. But they handed the infrastructure, the entire backbone of the German deployment, to a shell they didn't realize I owned. I leaned back and let that sink in. For once, it was quiet. Then a new alert blinked across the terminal. Access override attempt detected. Origin, Frankfurt IP, exec tire node. I opened the trace. Malcolm, his credentials. Trying to punch through the Zurich node, he'd figured something was off. Too late, he triggered the vault defense I'd buried into the Apex node months ago. Full system lockout. I didn't even need to touch anything. I opened a secure channel to Trish and messaged her one line. Malcolm just tried to override system access from Frankfurt. He triggered a full lockout. They're locked out of their own project, she replied fast. They're panicking. Ops can't reach the system. Good. I opened the Apex dashboard. Everything was humming, containerized, sandboxed, clean separation between modules. The devs back at Pinnacleware couldn't even boot up a test run without my access token. That was the whole point. The neutral shell they all ignored? It was never neutral. It was a weapon. I clicked into the control panel and tagged the node. Apex Logics, primary custodian. Then I shut the screen, stood up, and walked to the window. Frankfurt was behind me. The game had already shifted. The ping hit my secure phone less than an hour later. Jonas Ray. HQ tried to break into Zurich node. Biometric lockout triggered. Still want it sealed. Jonas was one of the dev leads I trusted. Sharp guy. No tolerance for politics. We'd worked side by side for over 2 years. He'd helped me set up the Zurich architecture when everyone else was focused on chasing vendor invoices. I replied, no, let it stay open. Let them see it run without them. He sent back a thumbs up, then added, system stable. They're locked out of their own work. I checked the security logs. 2 access attempts, both within 90 seconds. Malcolm's credentials, pinging from Pinnacleware HQ, 2:47 p.m. UTC. Denied, both times. I pulled up the biometric parameters. The override trigger they hit was built with one requirement, my retina scan. Back when I set it up, I'd told them it was just a test sandbox, something experimental for future integrations. No one ever questioned it. They never asked what test environment meant, never looked past the dashboard. They saw code, assumed it was harmless. Now that same system had the full German platform running under my control, with their access permanently revoked. I kept scrolling through the logs. The second override attempt triggered a mirror alert to the board oversight module. That meant the board got notified. I messaged Trish. They know? She replied instantly, yes, executive summary already circulated. Audit committee has eyes on it. I sat still. Didn't touch the keyboard. I hadn't filed a lawsuit. I hadn't leaked anything. I didn't take down their system. All I did was code in my own guardrails and wait for them to trip over them. Let the logs talk. Let the board ask questions. Let Malcolm try to spin a story that didn't exist. I sipped cold water and stared at the blinking status light on the apex node. Green. Active. Secure. Jonas messaged again. Boardroom must be on fire right now. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. They'd built the coffin. I just made sure it locked from the inside. I watched the logs update in real time, Malcolm's ID still pinging against the wall I built. I picked up my phone and called Henrik Vogt, head of systems at the German firm. The only guy in the entire deal who ever said what he meant. He answered on the second ring. Brad, he said, his voice always clipped, exact. Didn't expect to hear from you direct. I need to ask about the last contract revisions, I said. The ones Malcolm's team sent. There was a pause. Then Henrik said, your CEO approved changes on Friday, said you'd been restructured. That word, restructured, like I was a server patch. No mention of termination, no formal handoff, no transition doc. Just gone. I stayed calm. Henrik, I said, Apex Logix holds all transitional rights. They never revoked them. You're not signing with Pinnacleware anymore. He didn't answer right away. I could hear him moving, probably pulling the file up on his screen. You're saying Apex still holds the back-end asset path? Yes, and I'm Apex's CEO. That clause was buried in Section 3.1 from the start. It's still live. Malcolm didn't remove it, probably didn't notice it. You realize what you're saying? He asked. That your old company just negotiated a deal using a structure they don't control? I opened the secure folder and dropped in 3 files. The audit logs, 2 screenshots of denied access attempts, and a clean route of the signature chain they tried to forge around. Check your inbox, I said. I waited. Henrik was the kind of guy who didn't fake a reaction. 30 seconds passed. Then he said, these logs, they show your system denied entry to Malcolm's account. Twice, I said. He tried to override from Frankfurt, got blocked. The audit trail triggered an alert to your legal board. They'll confirm it. He was quiet again, but not idle. I could hear the clicking in the background. If that's true, he said slowly, and Apex still holds the asset rights, then you're the lead, not Pinnacleware. That's right. But I'll need your signature before 7 a.m., Monday, he said. No delay. If the docs aren't final by then, we go cold. You'll have it, I said. Henrik's tone changed. Not friendly, just clear. You know this puts you center stage. If what you're saying holds, you just pulled the project out from under your old employer in front of their board. I didn't pull it, I said. They let it go. Another pause. Good luck, Brad, he said, then ended the call. I set the phone down and walked back to the terminal. Timer running, 2 days left. They buried me without checking the foundation. Now I own the ground they built on. The trams rolled past, slow and quiet. Zurich just starting to wake. Streetlights flicked off one by one as the sun crawled over the rooftops. I sat in the small glass office I'd rented under Apex Logix. No signage, no nameplate, just a key card and a view of the tracks. The contract sat open on the screen. Final, untouched, clean headers, signature field blinking. Authorized counterparty, Apex Logix. AGCEO : Brad Huxley, my name, not theirs. My hand hovered over the mouse. I could feel it tremble, not from fear, from the weight of it. This wasn't revenge. This was structure, built slow, layered quiet, and now all it needed was one click. I leaned in and clicked. 6:56 a.m., time stamped. The clause I'd embedded months ago activated instantly. Section 3.1 went live. Apex Logix now had full transitional control of the stack for the next 14 business days. No override without Apex's biometric authorization. And biometric? That meant me. Malcolm's team couldn't even open the dev environment without my facial ID. Couldn't deploy updates, couldn't monitor logs, couldn't touch a damn thing. I checked the system logs. Auto-ping to the German firm's legal and compliance portals. The signature was confirmed, binding, audit ready. Then my phone buzzed. I stared at the message for a second, then locked my screen. He thought I was gone. They all did. They thought cutting me was simple. One phone call, some forged signatures, clean delete from the system. But they forgot I'd built it. Not just the code, the foundation, the shell company, the legal hooks, the kill switches. And now the Germans had signed their platform. Not to Pinnacleware, but to me. I stepped out onto the balcony and looked down as another tram passed. 2 delivery bikes followed. Someone jogged by with headphones in. I could feel it. The silence before the fallout. Inside, the platform logs shifted. Ownership flags flipped. The whole stack rolled under Apex's name. They wouldn't see it until morning hit the East Coast. They'd try to spin it, say it was a clerical mix-up, or unexpected vendor conflict. But it was locked now, secured. The moment they signed me out, they handed me everything they didn't understand. The asset, the infrastructure, the deal. I walked back in, took one last look at the sign page, and hit export. PDF, time-stamped, irrefutable. That signature, it was the one they never saw coming, and now it was the only one that mattered. By noon, the leak started. Some freelance tech blogger posted a blurry screenshot from the Apex Logic's dashboard, claiming I'd mishandled confidential systems and hijacked a multi-million-dollar asset from inside the walls. I didn't reply. I archived the post, let the pile of bad guesses grow. Ava messaged me a minute later. "You're trending on the B2B feeds, not bad for a ghost partner." I almost smiled. Ava had been one of the few people who saw this from the inside, not because I told her everything, but because she noticed the gaps no one else looked at. I didn't write back, just dropped her a thumbs up in the secure thread and went back to watching the logs shift. Then came the real move. Henrik's board voted. They made Apex Logix the permanent technical lead, not just transitional. Permanent. They posted the change to their investor portal and notified every systems partner downstream. Pinnacleware's name was scrubbed from the final stack. Their CEO sent me a personal note. Plain text, no formatting. "Your integrity outlived the politics. We trust you to lead the build." Simple, final. Jonas sent me a video clip later that afternoon. I clicked it. Pinnacleware HQ, shot from the sidewalk. Employees walking out with cardboard boxes. Some looked dazed, some angry. One guy was dragging a chair. A voiceover cut in. "The largest deal collapse in company history. Audit sources confirm executive misconduct and internal fraud tied to the failed German partnership." No mention of me, no name. I didn't cheer. I didn't call anyone. I didn't post a thing. I stayed quiet. Let the facts close the case. Every doc they forged was now evidence. Every access log they buried was now public record. Every lie they stacked came toppling down with one signature they never saw coming. That kind of justice doesn't need a headline. But the press kept coming. A reporter from some global finance outlet finally got my contact through a third party. She called from a blocked number and left one message. "Mr. Huxley, who are you in all this?" I thought about deleting it, but then I called her back, gave her one sentence. "They erased my name," I said, so I wrote it across their biggest failure. Then I hung up. Ava messaged again that night. "You sure you're okay?" "Yeah," I replied. "I don't need to be remembered. I just needed them to remember who built it." And they would, every time they looked at the new system, every time they tried to explain the collapse, every time they had to explain to a board, a buyer, or a courtroom why a guy they tried to delete ended up with the whole platform in his hand. That was my legacy. Not loud, not branded, just permanent. By 7:45 a.m., Zurich glowed gold. That early autumn haze hung over the rooftops like smoke. I stood by the window, tea cold in my hand, watching the city wake up in silence. The server logs had gone quiet, clean, no breach attempts, no flagged access, just hum and uptime. Behind me, the side room door clicked open. Ava walked in first, no makeup, hoodie pulled tight around her neck. Jonas followed, coffee in one hand, phone in the other, eyes wide. Neither of them said anything for a second. Then Ava held up her phone and tilted it toward me. Business World had just dropped the headline, "Unknown Entity Apex Logix Seizes Tech Infrastructure in Global Deal Shakeup." Under it, subtext in bold, "Pinnacleware, stock down 19%. CEO Malcolm Dresden suspended." Jonas turned his phone to show another alert. Internal audit confirms forgery, override attempts, and breach of procedural controls. I didn't move. Just nodded once and went back to watching the street. Trams passed again, slower now with traffic lights sinking. A delivery van pulled into the side lot, engine rumbling against the still air. For once, everything outside lined up with how it felt inside. Balanced, finished. Ava crossed the room and leaned against the opposite wall. Jonas sat down without asking. He didn't need to. That's when it came in, the final message. Henrik Vogt, secure thread. You built the bridge. We walked across it. Thank you. No emojis, no formality, just that. I set my tea down on the windowsill. Didn't answer, didn't forward it. Just let it sit there. I didn't need vindication. I'd had enough of that fake spotlight in boardrooms and press releases. I had leverage, and I used it. Not to destroy them. They did that part themselves. I used it to replace them, quietly, permanently. No lawsuits, no revenge speech, no press tour, just one signature buried months ago. One truth left in plain sight, and one name they tried to erase, now sitting at the bottom of the only contract that mattered.